We were asking that they must give us the logical explanation or justification as to why the church is closed and other places such as cinemas, theaters, casinos, gyms, restaurants, and so on and so forth are still open. Yes, we gave the government a space of 7 days to give us that response, of which they are happy that they gave us a reply to say they received our memorandum after in 2 hours immediately. We have given it to them today. Yes, that is that.
So, I mean, there's a wide variety of places where people gather for worship, Mr. Maila. By the way, is it Mr. or Reverend? I just want to be sure of that.
I'm Pastor. You can call me Pastor.
Okay, Pastor Maila, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was correct there. So, Pastor Maila, many different kinds of places of worship and capacity in a large church where everyone sits in chairs is easy to measure because, you just count the chairs. A smaller venue where people are perhaps sitting on benches, not so easy. How would you determine the capacity of a church if they were to say, okay, let's go church by church and set the numbers for each one? How would you do that? I would have thought it's not as simple as it sounds.
Yes, it's not as simple as it sounds, but every church has got a plan, has got a size that it has been built on.
Right.
So if the church obviously, let's say, is 12 by 12, that is a 250 capacity church. If we're to pack in a normal non-social distance environment, but if we're to bring it to a social environment, it will mean that church must be reduced to something like 110 to probably 110 to 80 people if we're to create one meter in between. So the only thing we're saying is that we are honest to comply. Give us the restriction, give us the regulations that you want us to open with. We will do exactly that. That's all we are saying.
I want to stay with you on these numbers and the figures you guys are pushing of 50%, Pastor. It seems to me that if you want to create space between individuals, because that has to be done, and you, at the same time you want to create space between the rows, so you have to fill row 1, row 3, row 5. You can't have people in row 1, 2, 3 because the people behind are going to be much closer than 1 meter away. Surely what you're looking at is at best 30% and probably 25%, if you're really going to do this properly.
If we're to create 1 meter distance, social distance, which is advised in the regulations, I believe that of course it means that between one chair, the front, the back, and everywhere, it will mean that there has to be 1 meter. So when we say we open for 50%, we are saying in that gap of saying that we are looking at saying how many chairs can fit in 50%. We are not saying the church is automatically on 50%. We're gonna make sure that there is a major speed that we are advised on to fit in. But necessarily every church must know that it reduces a size lower than the way they were. And remember that also the question of the president was an issue of the length of hours the church takes. We can also deal with an issue of time, that let's have a church service of 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes. Since we want to cut, we say we can cut issues of music.
Yes.
So it will mean that the church people come sit down, worship, pray, sitting down. The pastor comes sit on the pulpit, open the Bible, preach, and people go home. Probably another group comes after they've sanitized the church, and so on and so forth.
So Pastor, I've got a caller for Moshere, who's on the line from Pretoria West and wants to engage with you about the march you had. Moshere, welcome.
Yes, John and my guest. John, I just want to find out from your guest, because if you look in the Bible, mostly in the Old Testament, you look at the book of Leviticus, where there were leprosy. God will order his servant like Moses to tell the people to isolate in order to preserve life and also not get infected. What are the pastors saying about it? Also, if you look at John 26 verse 20, it talks the very same thing, that when there was fear, God will order his servant to tell his people to isolate in order to preserve life, so that thereafter they can come out in a good condition in order to be able to get their goal.
Okay, Moshere, Pastor Maila, I'm certain you're more familiar with those verses than I am. Your response?
Yes, I hear that he's quoting the biblical authority on issues of quarantining. Yes, indeed, it was like that in the Bible, and we agree with that. If you can remember, there was a first lockdown. In the first lockdown, the church was quiet. We never fought against anything. Why this time are we saying, let the church also open? Because if a cinema and a theater are open, it means people are not quarantining. They are also going to the cinema, and the average movie is 3 hours. It means that whatever they say it will happen in the long service of a church, it will happen in the cinema. So what he's saying, I wish he was saying that if everything else was closed and people are quarantining. I personally stay in the township. I go to the malls. I go everywhere. Let me tell you the honest truth. People are packed up in all places gathering. The only difference is that they are not organized under one banner. Yeah. So we are saying if these people can be all over like that, why can't they be in the church also where there is regulation in place for them?
News.
Experts.
Analysis.
Where things stand.
What you need to know. Drive home with John Perlman
On 702.